This is Teresa Matsura, and you're listening to Uncanny Japan. Okay, I'm sort of on a roll. After the last episode about the wave boy, Nami Kozo, I thought to myself, while I'm at it, why not do another local nanafushigi, 7 mysterious things? Especially since it's about Abe no Seimei, and I mentioned I'd talk more about him a couple episodes ago. To tell you the truth, I was always intimidated by this bigger-than-life historical and legendary figure. I didn't know how to even start going about studying him. But there's a chapter on him in the upcoming book, so I dove in and learned he's just a gem. And you could probably spend your whole life reading about him and still not learn it all. I mean, he was born in 921 CE. That's 1,103 years ago, a very long time for myths to sprout and grow and evolve. But also, there was so much written about him and by him at the time he was alive that's still out there. Today, let me tell you a little bit about this wild, prognosticating, magic-wielding wonder and the time he visited a village not too far from where I live, and what he did there. Would you like to explore the stranger, more obscure corners of Japanese culture? Dig a little deeper into superstitions, curious customs, and all those mysterious creatures that inhabit the land? If so, then this is the podcast for you. Uncanny Japan is where I, author Teresa Matsura, share all the fascinating tidbits I unearth while doing research for my writing. From the bizarre to the ghastly, and everything in between. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, how are you? How's 2024 treating you? Hopefully well. A reminder about the book of Japanese folklore by me, Teresa Matsura, and that it's available for pre-order, and that there's a free recorded short folktale, again by me, if you do pre-order. Just shoot me a screenshot at thebookofjapanesefolklore@gmail.com, and I'll get that to you. Patrons who buy the book, you're getting a signed book plate and bookmark that I designed and I made. I'm working on those now, and I want to get them in the mail before the book actually comes out, which is April 30th. They'll be fun. On to today's show. So, a bit of background about Abe no Seimei. He was born Dojimaru in 921 CE to a father who was a really nice guy, demonstrated by the fact that one day he saved a fox from hunters. A fox he later ended up marrying. FYI, she had transformed into a woman by that point. I'm guessing that he didn't know she was a fox at the time. But he did know later when little Dojimaru outed her by accidentally walking in and seeing her in fox form, which caused her to leave the family. Because that's the fox law, evidently. Her name was Kuzunoha, by the way. The leaf of a kudzu plant. I like that. Anyway, she returned to the forest, but the family did meet at least once again in those same woods, where she gave her son some magical implements from the fox god Inari Daimyojin, and Abe no Seimei was born. As a young man, he ended up working for the Heian imperial court as an onmyōji. Omyoji, practitioners of Omyodo, the way of yin and yang, were an eclectic mix of astrologer, diviner, geomancer, magician with real magical powers, etc., etc. It mixes Taoism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and much, much more. Abe no Seimei was no doubt the most powerful onmyoji ever. There are so many stories, both true and wildly legendary, about the man. That's where it's hard to know where to start talking about him. So how about 3 noteworthy things? Number 1. he employed the strongest shikigami. So what's a shikigami? Well, shikigami are creatures or spirits that you find mentioned in Omyodo a lot. There are some heavy occult vibes when you read that they're summoned by the onmyōji through various rituals and spells. Then they are controlled to do their master's bidding. They can appear as various things, animals, evil-looking oni dudes, or white paper cutouts. In artwork, you'll usually see them depicted as a child or a bird, or a creepy oni thing. But they can also remain in spirit form. If the onmyōji is powerful, like Abe no Seimei, he can order them to even possess other animals or people. They're dangerous, though, if you're not a strong onmyōji and don't know what you're doing, because they can turn on you. Some things shikigami can do is spy on an enemy, track and find an enemy, and steal stuff. Abe no Seimei's shikigami were top-notch. Everyone agrees. Number 2 noteworthy thing. He could dissipate or vanish someone else's shikigami. Remember, all onmyōji who are strong enough could conjure these otherworldly creatures. But Abe no Seimei could go poof, and yours would be extinguished. One story tells of an old monk who visited Abe no Seimei with 2 children. He expressed interest in learning Omyodo from the master himself. But Abe no Seimei sensed that something was off. "Ha!" he said, and with a wave of his hands and some magic incantation, he disappeared the 2 children, who were actually shikigami. Let's hope they were shikigami. Number 3 noteworthy thing. When he was very young, he witnessed the Hyaki-yagyo, or Demon Horde's Night Parade, or 100 Demons Night Parade. Abe no Seimei said that most people can't even see these monsters, even if they're right in front of them, even after years of training. But Abe no Seimei had the natural ability, even as a child. Another thing Abe no Seimei is famous for is his ongoing rivalry with an onmyōji named Ashiya Doman, or Doman Hoshi. He was quite a bit older and wasn't as just or as good as Abe no Seimei. It said he learned all these practices by secretly reading and being taught by a Taoist sage. At least that's what he claimed. He even said he was a disciple of the sage, taking the character Do from his master's name when he came up with Doman. Also the same character for Taoism, by the way. Doman studied Buddhism too, but evidently had an arrogant, unscrupulous character. That said, he did excel in divination and sometimes displayed supernatural abilities. He was so full of himself, he thought that he was the best onmyōji in the world. That is, until along came a young upstart, Abe no Seimei. Abe no Seimei, at a very young age, diagnosed the emperor's illness and received an official position inside the Heian court, something Doman didn't have. This made the older onmyōji crazy jealous, and thus the rivalry was born. There are loads of stories and legends about these two, but a well-known one is how, while Abe no Seimei was in China studying for 3 years, Ashiya Doman had an affair with his wife, who was simply and mysteriously known as Rika. One night, Doman was having a little pillow talk with Rika and asked her about Abe no Seimei and what he was studying in China. She said she didn't know anything about all that, but he did have a 4-inch square gold box and a 5-inch square sandalwood box locked inside a chest inside a storage room. Doman pleaded with her to show him the boxes, which she did. He couldn't open them, though. Well, not at first. Then he performed a little magic and the lids opened, revealing 2 magical texts. Doman wasted no time copying both books, then replacing the originals. Seimei eventually returned to Japan. One night after a banquet, while quite drunk, he sat down to rest. Who was to sweep into the room but Ashiya Doman? Doman goes and tells his frenemy about this dream he had where he visited China and met Manjushri Bodhisattva on Mount Wutai. While there in his dream, he was given 2 sacred magical texts. Seimei dismissed this and said that dreams are just an illusion created by a confused mind. Even if you gain fortune in a dream, when you wake up it's all gone, he said. Sages don't dream. But Doman mentioned some biggies like the Buddha himself who did report having dreams. Seimei said, well, what I meant was, it's not that they don't dream, it's that they don't have dreams of delusion like you, Doman, and your delusional dream about these sacred texts. All you care about is fame and fortune. You can never experience what a sage experiences. Ouch. This rightfully infuriated Doman. He said, well, if you know everything, why don't we have a bet about whether or not I have in my possession these texts? Seimei, still drunk mind you, laughed and very carelessly said, yes, let's bet this head of mine. Doman then whipped out the 2 books he'd transcribed, showed them to Abe no Seimei, and then in the next instant drew his sword and beheaded the greatest Omyoji right there in his own home. Doman rejoiced. Now he could become Rika's husband, which is what he wanted all along. But, funnily enough, the instant Seimei died, all his servants dropped to the ground and became bunches of straw and pieces of wood. Remember we talked about Wara Ningyo in the last episode, Namikozo? Here they are again. But also, they were shikigami, no doubt. Ashiya Doman wasn't completely talentless. He performed a new ritual and turned them all back into people that would serve him, and life went on as usual, without the powerful Abe no Seimei in the picture, though. It's said that Seimei's head was buried secretly on the banks of the Kamo River at a place called Gojo Gawara. One more really cool thing before I get to my local Abe no Seimei spot. Let me tell you about the Seimei-Doman charm. Remember from 2 episodes ago when I talked about the 5 elements and how the pentagram both represented the Gogyo and was a personal charm for Abe no Seimei? Well then, Ashiya Doman's good luck symbol was a lattice image of 5 vertical lines with 4 horizontal lines drawn through them. It looks like a grid, although some versions have differing numbers of lines going either way, but it's still called the Doman charm. Seen together, these are called Seimei-Doman. Have you ever heard about the Amma, women who dive for pearls in Mie Prefecture? These days they wear all white and free dive to impressive depths. They're a tourist attraction too. The tradition has been around for over 2,000 years. Back in the day, it was food they were looking for, not pearls. As you can imagine, it's a dangerous and difficult job. You want to have good luck and the gods on your side. Shrines are built and offerings made, of course. But what's really interesting is all the Amma have embroidered in purple or black thread on their diving head tenugui and or some other item of clothing or towel, the Seimei-Doman talisman. It's said to keep away evil and protect them. It also keeps them from being captured and being pulled down into the Ryugujo, or dragon palace, or attacked by creatures that live in the sea. One of these beasties that was new to me is called the Tomakazuki. This is an archaic word, and it kind of means the same diver. While diving deep in the shadowy depth of the ocean, you might be approached by another Amma. But it's not a friend. This one looks exactly like you. Your doppelganger. This look-alike will try to give you an abalone or lure you into some darker, deeper parts of the seabed. The Seimei-Doman will protect you from this scoundrel. The reason being, the pentagram is drawn by starting at a point and returning to it. So this represents the ama diving and returning safely home. It's also completely sealed, so nothing bad can enter, like evil-doing monsters. If you're looking at a piece of woven cloth, the name of the spaces between the threads in Japanese is called me, or eye. Doman's lattice charm has many of these me, or eyes, which watch over the divers when they're out at sea, again keeping them safe. So it's kind of nice seeing these two rivals working together to keep these divers protected and safe. So while I was looking at different nanafushigi in my neck of the woods, I saw Abe no Seimei's name and thought, what? He lives in Kyoto. The story, it turns out, is that not too far from me, in Kakegawa City, there is an Abe no Seimei Mound, or Seimei-zuka. Somewhere around 1,000 years ago, Abe no Seimei stopped by the area and visited a village that was occasionally devastated by tsunamis. He heard the villagers' stories, and he felt so bad for them that he started praying fervently while stacking up some small red-colored stones. After that, there were and have never been any tsunamis in the area. Knock on wood. The spot where he did his magic was marked by a memorial mound and became a place people visited to feel safe and to pray. I just went there the other day, and it's quite nice. Not too far from the sea, surrounded by trees. There's this large pile of all different sized stones surrounded by a makeshift fence. There's even a pentagram, too. I'll put up some photos on the Uncanny Japan website and on Patreon. So anyway, when people visited the mound, since tsunamis were no longer a problem, they prayed for other things, like not to be affected by any nasty diseases or sweeping epidemics, like smallpox or measles, cholera, tuberculosis. You get the picture. But then through the years, that changed into wishing for anything at all. While there, I saw that someone wrote on one of the rocks that they hoped their kidneys would get better. Yes, some people actually write their wishes on the stones. The usual routine, though, is after praying, the person borrows one of the azuki, yes, that's azuki red bean, colored stones and takes it home for good luck. Once the illness has swept through and they and their loved ones are safe and unharmed, or once they get whatever it is they wished for, they return to Seimei Mound with 2 stones, the original one and a second rock. It's very important to return the stone plus 1. You can't just go around depleting this ancient magic. You gotta give it back. The magical nanafushigi part isn't just that the wish comes true, but that the second stone, no matter what color it was originally, turns azuki bean red overnight, so that there is still a whole pile of red stones. Okay, you'll see in the photos, but while most of the rocks are reddish color, some aren't, so it might take a little longer than overnight these days. I mean, it has been over 1,000 years since Abe no Seimei was here. I'm really not sure how many visitors go there now. I talked to some friends and nobody knew about it. But back in the olden days when disease ran rampant, people came from near and far to pray and to borrow a rock for good luck and return too. Local elders in the area also believe as long as the Seimei no Zuka exists, they are protected from tsunamis. The end. Alrighty then. Everyone stay safe and well. Please consider becoming a patron if you'd like. And I will talk to you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. You've reached the end of the show, and I just want you to know how much we appreciate you listening and supporting us. Any subscribing, reviewing, and gushing to your friends, family, even random strangers really does help keep us going. If you have the means and you want to help a little more and get a little more, we are making extra content over on Patreon, all for only $5 a month. Or, if you like to read horror, you might be interested in my Bram Stoker-nominated short story collection, The Carp-Faced Boy and Other Tales. 本当にありがとうございます. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you real soon.